Hey there, friends and enemies, JoPaWrites here again, and today I wanted to talk about the exotic bow Wishender, a weapon that is dominant in endgame PVE right now, something no one would have expected when this first dropped in Forsaken. It was so underwhelming, one of the most underwhelming exotics we have ever gotten when it first launched, but with improvements over time, this thing has gotten better and better to the point now where it is fantastic. And if you haven't tried it out, if you all you can remember is the early days of Wishender when it was so subpar, I would fix that immediately. It's really good in PvE. It's better than expected in PvP, and there's just a lot of reasons to like this. So much so that I wouldn't be surprised if this eventually gets nerfed because of how good it is. Now, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. I think the playing field is going to be leveled a little bit with the upcoming buffs to like ARs and hand cannons and all that kind of good stuff as well. So maybe this won't be as dominant as it is now, but for those of you still sleeping on this, let me go over everything and why this thing is so good. So first off, it has the intrinsic trait Queen's Wrath while aiming down sights with a fully drawn bow. Combatants behind walls are highlighted and arrows pierce shields. Strong against barrier champions. This is very nice for endgame PvE when you can find all the targets. You can one-shot almost anything in the game, even on master content. I've taken this into master Nightfalls, Grandmaster Nightfalls. I've taken it into Master and Legend Lost Sectors. It is fantastic. It works really well, and it one-shots a lot of enemies in content where you want to kill them as quickly as possible because survivability is the name of the game, and if you're taking down enemies rapidly, then you don't have to worry about surviving because you can just take them down at a distance pretty easily. So that's one of the main ways this weapon shines. And then you also have the traits Broadhead, Piercing Arrow that damages the target on entry and exit. One shot can overpenetrate multiple targets. I really enjoy getting the clats with this thing. It's actually hilarious. I really love that. It's got anti-taken fletching, specialized to fight taken targets, increases accuracy. And then finally, we've got high tension string. Greatly increases accuracy, slightly slower draw time, slightly decreases stability. So essentially, this weapon is very good at long range in content where enemies are chunkier. You can take down not only red bar enemies in one shot, but also yellow bar enemies in one shot as well at times. And that is very valuable in this type of content. You can break shields as long as you fully draw your bow of the barrier champions with one shot, which is, again, very useful and something that is absolutely necessary in those endgame types of content where you want to take down champions and high difficulty combatants as quickly as possible. So that's why this thing has really shined. And yeah, originally when we first started getting bows in Destiny 2, they were a bit underwhelming. They didn't do enough damage, but after a few buffs and down the line, now as combat kind of changed and we're able to kind of build around what bows do really well, we've seen a rise in how good they are. There was a time where Le Monarch has been really valuable and viable in all kinds of content. We've seen Trinity Ghoul really be phenomenal. And right now, I would say if Wishender isn't the best PvE exotic in Destiny 2, currently Leviathan's Breath isn't far behind. It's another one that intrinsically can take on champions and does a lot of damage, where you really need that extra damage in types of content where the name of the game is taking down enemies as quickly as possible and staying alive. And bows do both of that very, very well. You play at a distance, you can take down enemies quickly. Not useful for every encounter. Like, for example, in Lake of Shadows in the boss fight, it can be difficult to get your bow shots off. And there's also a lot of people that don't enjoy using bows. But I would say bows are one of the best types of weapons for endgame PvE. Now, it doesn't matter as much when you have lots of mobs. Say you have something like a raid encounter. Bows lose a little bit of their value if you don't need to use them for tankier enemies. And that's one of the things that I found is that there's other ways to build around in raids. But in master raids, if you have champions, in Grandmaster Nightfalls especially, You, as long as there are barrier champions in your Grandmaster Nightfall, you never have to take Wish Ender off, and that is so valuable because of how good it is, especially as a primary weapon, because then you can use literally anything that you want in your secondary slot. You could go double primary and not feel like you're losing a whole lot, right? If you want to go with an SMG there, if you want to go with a sidearm or something, AR, anything like that, all of that will work. In your second slot, or you can use something like a fusion rifle, a glaive. You can use an exotic, or not exotic. You can use shotgun, a sniper, whatever the case may be. Especially if the sniper buff is very good. Imagine being in, especially in Grandmaster Nightfalls, where you are playing at range and you can take the boss on at range. Imagine a situation where you can run a bow and a sniper and just whittle down the bosses from a distance. This is something I used to do in D1 in the harder Nightfall strikes all the time. You would find a safe spot and you would just whittle them down. I used to use Icebreaker and weapons like that all the time. So this kind of relives that previous situation, and I do really enjoy it because it does make things a little bit easy, but also sometimes you just want to kind of play from a safe spot, and that's where the bows really shine. So yeah, that's a lot of why I wanted to talk about Wish Ender. I think more people should be using it. I don't know how these upcoming changes, like I know Revision 0 is going to significantly benefit from the upcoming buffs, so it might be a better option at times than Wish Ender. But even still, there are going to be times where Wish Ender is just going to be better. And again, it's so nice to be able to see the enemies through the walls, so you always know where those targets that are shooting you are at. Sometimes you won't notice them right away, and then all of a sudden you're surrounded. And in a Grandmaster Nightfall, it can be the difference between surviving or not surviving and your teammates having to revive you. So anyway, I know I kind of rambled a little bit there towards the end, but this is just a weapon that I think deserves a lot of love and should be more used than it currently is, in my opinion. Even in PVE, PvP, I wanted to say, with the right build, especially on hunters, this thing can be so annoying. So it's one of those weapons that I hope it doesn't rise in usage in PvP, but it is good everywhere, and it's probably, in my opinion, a top 5 exotic in the entire game right now. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Are you guys using Wish Ender, especially in more endgame types of content, or are you still not really a fan of bows or Wish Ender in general? So I'd love to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comments down below. Like the video if you haven't already. It helps me out tremendously. Shows you want to see more Destiny content like this from me, especially if you subscribe to the channel. I am absolutely blessed with all the love that I've been getting on the videos lately, so thank you all for that. My name is Jopa. I hope you have a good one, and I'll catch you all later.